Duty and destiny. The alarm screamed at 4 a.m, cutting through the darkness of Elena Carter's bedroom like a knife. She didn't hesitate. Her hand shot out, silencing the noise before it could wake the rest of the house. In the blackness, she moved with practiced efficiency, pulling on running gear that had been laid out the night before. Weighted vest? Check. Running shoes with extra grip? Check. Water bottle filled and waiting by the door? Check. This was her ritual, her secret, her rebellion. Outside, the Florida humidity wrapped around her like a wet blanket, but Elena welcomed it. The pre-dawn air tasted of salt from the ocean 10 miles east and pine from the forest that surrounded Moonstone Pack territory. She checked her watch, started the timer, and began to run. 5'2", 16 years old, never shifted. In a world where werewolves measured worth in size and strength, Elena Carter was what they called a runt, the smallest, the weakest, the one who shouldn't have survived past childhood, but somehow kept breathing, kept fighting, kept refusing to disappear into the background where everyone wanted her to fade. Her feet pounded against the dirt trail, each step deliberate and strong. The weighted vest added 30 pounds to her frame, making every stride an act of will. Sweat poured down her face before she'd covered the first mile. By mile 3, her lungs burned. By mile 5, her legs screamed for mercy. But Elena had learned something that the bigger, stronger wolves in her pack hadn't quite figured out yet. Pain was temporary. Weakness was a choice. She finished the 10-mile circuit in 78 minutes, collapsing against a massive oak tree at the edge of pack territory. Her chest heaved, her vision swam, but when she checked her time, she allowed herself the smallest smile. 3 minutes faster than last week. Progress. Always progress. The sun was just starting to paint the eastern sky in shades of orange and pink when Elena finally made it back to the Alpha House. The mansion stood 3 stories tall, built from Georgia pine and riverstone, a testament to generations of Carter family leadership. Her father, Alpha Thomas Carter, had expanded it twice during his 30-year reign. Added a war room, added a command center, added training facilities that would make a military base jealous, because that's what Alpha Thomas was before the wolf took over. A Marine, 2 tours in Vietnam, came home with medals, scars, and an unshakable belief that discipline and duty mattered more than comfort or convenience. Elena tried to slip in through the side door, hoping to shower before her mother noticed the mud caked on her shoes and the exhaustion written across her face. No such luck. Luna Maria stood in the kitchen, already dressed for the day in simple jeans and a button-down shirt, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. She looked up from the coffee pot and raised one eyebrow. The expression said everything. I know where you've been. I know what you're doing. And we both know your father would have opinions about it. 10 miles? Maria asked quietly. Elena nodded. 78 minutes? Another nod. Maria crossed the kitchen and pulled her daughter into a hug that smelled like lavender soap and morning coffee. When she pulled back, her eyes were serious. You don't have to prove anything to them, baby girl. Yes, I do, Elena whispered. Every single day. Before Maria could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the second floor. Dylan was up, Elena's older brother, 18 years old, 6'3", already showing signs of the massive alpha wolf he'd become when he took over the pack in another decade or so. Currently home on summer break from his first year at West Point, because Alpha Thomas believed in education as much as he believed in combat training. Dylan appeared at this kitchen door, took one look at his sister's mud-splattered legs and sweat-soaked shirt, and grinned. You went without me again. You need your beauty sleep, Elena shot back. I need to keep up with my psycho sister who thinks 4 a.m. is a reasonable time to run marathons. It was only 10 miles. My point exactly. Dylan grabbed an apple from the counter and took a massive bite. Dad wants us at the training grounds by 0800. We've got visitors coming today. Elena's stomach tightened. Visitors meant politics. Politics meant posturing. And posturing meant she'd spend the day being reminded of everything she wasn't. Big enough, strong enough, wolf enough. Who's coming? Maria asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. Alpha Richard Stone, from Alaska. Dylan's expression shifted, becoming more serious. They're here about the Victor Kane situation. The name hung in the air like smoke. Victor Kane, once a respected beta, once a leader, now a rogue with an army of 50 followers, cutting a path of destruction from the Canadian border down through Montana, leaving dead pack wolves and burned territories in his wake. "Why do they need us?" Elena asked. Dylan and Maria exchanged a look. The kind of look that said there was more to the story, but not all of it was meant for 16-year-old ears. But then Dylan shrugged. Because Victor Kane used to be beta of the Frost Peak Pack. Before he went rogue, before he killed his own mate and got exiled, Alpha Stone wants to build a coalition, multiple packs working together to take him down. Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. War. They were talking about war. "Go shower," Maria said gently. "Both of you. We need to look presentable for our guests." Elena took the stairs 2 at a time, grateful for the escape. In her room, she stripped off the workout clothes and stood under scalding water until her muscles stopped screaming. The bathroom mirror showed what it always showed. A girl who looked younger than 16. Small. Compact. Dark hair that fell in waves to her shoulders. Blue eyes that her mother said looked like the ocean before a storm. And a body that stubbornly refused to produce the shift that every other werewolf experienced around 14. She was an anomaly, a glitch in genetics, the alpha's daughter who couldn't access her wolf. The runt. Elena dressed carefully. Dark jeans, simple gray blouse, nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention. She braided her hair back from her face and skipped makeup entirely. When she came back downstairs, her father was already in the kitchen, dressed in khakis and a pressed button-down, looking every inch the military officer, despite 20 years of civilian life. Alpha Thomas Carter was not a large man by werewolf standards, but he carried himself like he owned every room he entered. Gray touched his temples, scars marked his hands, and his eyes missed nothing. "Elena." "Sir?" It was their morning ritual, the acknowledgement, the respect, the distance. "You ran this morning." It wasn't a question, so she didn't answer. "Your mother tells me you're down to 78 minutes for the 10-mile circuit." "Yes, sir." "That's faster than half my warriors." Elena kept her face neutral, but inside, something warm bloomed in her chest. Praise from Alpha Thomas Carter was rarer than rain in the desert. "We have important guests today," her father continued. "Alpha Stone is an old friend, fought together in the war. I expect you and your brother to represent this family with honor." "Always, sir." He studied her for a long moment, and Elena wondered what he saw. Did he see the daughter who'd never shifted? Or did he see the girl who ran 10 miles before dawn, who practiced hand-to-hand combat when no one was watching, who refused to let her size define her future? "You've got your mother's stubbornness," he said finally. It might have been a compliment. With Thomas Carter, it was hard to tell. At 7:45, 3 black SUVs rolled up the circular driveway. Elena watched from the second-story window as her father went out to greet their guests. Dylan appeared beside her, still buttoning his shirt. "You nervous?" he asked. "Should I be?" Alpha Stone brought his beta, Marcus Kane. "Related to Victor?" "His son." Elena's head snapped around. "They're bringing the son of the rogue to a war council?" "Apparently, Marcus is the one who turned his father in, testified against him, got him exiled." Dylan's voice held a note of respect. "Then Marcus joined the Marines, did 2 tours in Afghanistan, came back and earned the beta position through merit, not bloodline." "That must have been hard," Elena murmured. "Yeah, I can't imagine having to choose between family and pack." Dylan put a hand on her shoulder. "Come on, let's go meet the warrior who killed his father's legacy." They descended the stairs just as the front door opened. Alpha Stone entered first. He was maybe 60, with silver hair and the kind of weathered face that spoke of decades spent outdoors in harsh climates. Behind him came a younger man who made Elena's breath catch in her throat. Marcus Kane was tall, not bulky, but built like someone who'd earned every muscle through hard work and harder combat. Blonde hair cut military short, blue eyes that swept the room with tactical precision, and covering his forearms, visible below rolled-up sleeves, were tattoos, not random designs, military unit insignias, coordinates, dates, each one a story written in ink and memory. He looked at Elena, their eyes met, and the world tilted sideways. Mate. The word thundered through her mind, primal and undeniable. Every instinct she didn't know she had suddenly screamed at her to cross the room, to touch him, to claim him as hers. The air between them crackled with something electric, something that made her skin prickle and her heart race. But Marcus Kane didn't move, didn't rush forward, didn't do any of the dramatic things Elena had heard about in mate bond stories. Instead, he held her gaze for exactly 3 seconds, then shifted his attention to her father. Alpha Carter. His voice was deep, controlled, professional. Thank you for hosting this meeting. The dismissal was subtle but clear. Whatever he felt, whatever connection had just slammed into both of them, Marcus Kane was choosing duty over desire, choosing the mission over the mate bond. Elena should have been hurt. Instead, she felt a flicker of respect. Dylan moved forward, extending his hand. Welcome to Moonstone territory. I'm Dylan Carter, future Alpha. Marcus Kane, Beta of Frost Peak. The handshake was firm, brief, professional. This is Alpha Richard Stone. The older man smiled, the kind of smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Tom, you old bastard, still alive and kicking? Takes more than age to kill a Marine, Elena's father replied, and the two men embraced like brothers. 20 years of friendship evident in that simple gesture. And this must be the famous Elena. Alpha Stone turned his attention her way. Maria tells me you've got your mother's spirit. Elena found her voice. I hope that's a compliment, sir. With Maria Carter? Always. Alpha Stone's expression grew more serious. Marcus, this is Luna Maria, Dylan, and Elena, the family I've been telling you about. Marcus nodded respectfully to each of them in turn. When his eyes landed on Elena again, she saw something flicker there. Recognition, longing, and something else. Fear. Shall we get to business? Alpha Thomas gestured toward his office. The war room is ready. As the Alphas moved deeper into the house, Dylan fell into step behind them. It was his right, his duty. As the future Alpha, he needed to be part of these discussions, needed to learn the politics and strategy of pack leadership. Elena started to follow, but her mother's hand on her arm stopped her. Let them have their war council, Maria said softly. You and I have other things to discuss. But I want to hear. You'll hear what you need to hear when the time is right. Maria guided her daughter toward the kitchen. Right now, I want to talk about what just happened in that entryway. Elena felt her face heat. I don't know what you mean. Baby girl, I saw the way you looked at Marcus Kane, and I saw the way he very deliberately didn't look at you. Maria poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down at the kitchen table, patting the chair beside her. Mate bond? There was no point in lying, not to her mother. Elena nodded miserably. And he's walking away. He's choosing duty, Elena said, surprised at the steadiness in her own voice. I respect that. Maria studied her daughter for a long moment. You know what I see when I look at you? A runt who can't shift? I see a warrior who runs 10 miles before dawn. I see a leader who understands that respect is earned, not demanded. I see someone who could be an incredible beta female if the moon goddess decides that's her path. Maria reached across the table and took Elena's hand. Your size doesn't define you, Elena. Your choices do. Remember that. The war council lasted 3 hours. When the men finally emerged, Elena was in the backyard, working through forms with a practice staff. She taught herself from YouTube videos and library books, turning the backyard into her private training ground whenever the house was empty. She didn't hear Marcus approach. One moment she was alone. The next, a voice spoke from behind her. Your stance is good, but you're dropping your left shoulder on the reverse strike. Elena spun around, staff raised defensively. Marcus stood 10 feet away, hands loose at his sides, no threat in his posture but absolute readiness in his eyes. Sorry, he said. Didn't mean to startle you. Old habit, moving quiet. Military training? Marine Corps, Force Recon. He nodded toward the staff. You practice alone a lot? No one else to practice with. Elena lowered the weapon. The warriors don't take me seriously because I haven't shifted, and the females my age are more interested in makeup than combat. That's their loss. Marcus took a step closer. May I? Elena handed him the staff. He moved through a series of forms, each movement precise and economical. No wasted motion, no unnecessary flourishes, just pure, deadly efficiency. Combat isn't about being the biggest or the strongest, Marcus said, handing the staff back. It's about being smarter, faster, more disciplined. I've seen guys half my size take down opponents twice their weight because they understood leverage and timing. Is that what you tell yourself? Elena asked quietly. About your size? Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm 6'4". Size was never my problem. Then what was? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was low and rough. My father was Victor Kane, the rogue your Alpha and mine are planning to hunt down and kill. Every day of my life, people look at me and wonder if I'm going to turn out like him, if I've got his violence in my blood, if loving someone will turn me into a monster. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Is that why you're walking away from the mate bond? Elena asked. Because you think you'll hurt me? I know I will. Maybe not physically, but loving me makes you a target. And I've already lost too many people I care about. Before Elena could respond, Dylan's voice called from the house. Elena, they need you inside. Marcus stepped back, creating distance. You should go. This conversation isn't over, Elena said. Yeah, it probably isn't. Something that might have been hope flickered across his face. For what it's worth, Elena Carter, you're already stronger than you think. Don't let anyone tell you different. Inside, the war room was exactly what it sounded like. Maps covered every wall. Computer screens showed satellite imagery. A large table dominated the center of the room, covered in tactical plans and intelligence reports. Alpha Stone stood at the head of the table, Marcus beside him. Elena's father and Dylan were on the opposite side, and in the center, looking small and uncertain, stood Elena. Come in, sweetheart, her father said. We have something to discuss with you. Elena moved to stand beside her brother, very aware of Marcus's gaze tracking her movements. Alpha Stone spoke. Elena, I'm going to be direct with you. Marcus is my beta. He's also your mate. The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes about these things, which means she has a reason for binding you two together. Elena's throat went dry. Sir, I don't understand. Victor Kane is building an army of rogues, her father said. He's targeting pack wolves, killing them, burning territories, creating chaos. We need to stop him, and to do that, we need unity, multiple packs working together, a coalition. What does that have to do with me? Marcus answered, his voice steady. Coalition bonds are strengthened through family ties. Alpha Stone and your father are friends, but their packs are 800 miles apart. A mate bond between their beta and the Alpha's daughter? That's a living connection. A reason for both packs to fight together, to protect each other. Understanding crashed over Elena like a wave. You want me to go to Alaska? We want you to choose, her father corrected. This isn't an order. This is an option. If you accept Marcus as your mate, if you go to Alaska and become beta female of Frost Peak Pack, you create a bridge between our territories. You give us a reason to stand together. And if I don't? Then we build the coalition another way, Alpha Stone said. But it will take longer, cost more lives, and might not be strong enough to stop Victor Kane before he kills more innocent wolves. The weight of the decision pressed down on Elena's shoulders. This wasn't about romance. This was about duty, about sacrifice, about choosing the good of the many over personal comfort. She looked at Marcus, really looked at him, saw the tension in his jaw, the hope and fear warring in his eyes, the careful distance he maintained, refusing to influence her choice with the pull of the mate bond. If I go, Elena said slowly, I want something in exchange. Her father's eyebrows rose. You're negotiating? I'm setting terms. Elena lifted her chin. If I'm going to be beta female, I'm going to do it right. Which means I need training, real training, combat, tactics, strategy. Everything your warriors learn, I want to learn. Elena, you haven't shifted, Dylan started. Then I'll fight in human form if I have to, Elena interrupted. But I won't be a decoration. I won't be a symbol. If you want me to be a bridge between packs, then I'm going to be a strong bridge, one that can defend itself. Silence filled the room. Then unexpectedly, Marcus spoke. I'll train her myself. Everyone turned to look at him. She's right, Marcus continued. Being beta female isn't about looking pretty at ceremonies. It's about being a leader, a warrior, someone the pack can trust to fight beside them when war comes. He met Elena's gaze. If she comes to Alaska, I'll train her. Every day, hand to hand, weapons, tactics, whatever she needs to become the leader she wants to be. Alpha Stone looked at Elena's father. A silent conversation passed between them. Finally, Thomas Carter nodded. On one condition, her father said. Marcus Kane, you will swear an oath to protect my daughter, to train her as a warrior, and to respect her choice if she ever wishes to return home. Marcus straightened to attention, every inch the Marine. Alpha Thomas Carter, I swear on my honor as a Marine and as beta of Frost Peak Pack. I will protect Elena with my life. I will train her to be the warrior she chooses to become, and I will respect her autonomy and her right to choose her own path. This I swear before witnesses and before the moon goddess herself. The formality of the oath sent shivers down Elena's spine. This was real. This was happening. "Then it's settled," Alpha Stone said. "We leave tomorrow morning. Elena, you'll fly back to Alaska with us. The coalition begins today." The rest of the day passed in a blur. Elena packed her life into 3 suitcases, trying to figure out what you brought when you were moving 800 miles north to marry a warrior you'd just met and help fight a war against a rogue army. Maria helped, pulling clothes from drawers and offering quiet wisdom. "Alaska is cold, baby. You'll need layers, warm boots, practical things." "I'm scared," Elena admitted. "Good. Fear means you understand the stakes." Maria folded a sweater with practiced efficiency. "But remember this, my darling girl. You come from a line of strong women. Your grandmother was a Luna who held the pack together when your grandfather went to war. I was a field nurse who saved lives under fire. And you're going to be something even greater. I can feel it." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that was about to change. Around midnight, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Can't sleep either. This is Marcus. Just wanted to say thank you for choosing this, for giving us a chance at something I never thought I'd have." Elena stared at the message for a long time before responding. "I didn't do it for us. I did it for the packs, for the wolves who'll die if we don't stop your father." The reply came quickly. "I know. That's what makes you perfect for this. You understand duty. Most people our age don't. Were you scared when you testified against him?" A longer pause, then, "Terrified. He was my father, but he was also a murderer. Sometimes the right choice is the one that breaks your heart." Elena thought about that, about choices and consequences, about duty and desire. "Get some sleep, Marcus Kane. Tomorrow we start building our bridge." "Tomorrow we start, Elena Carter. Sweet dreams." She fell asleep with the phone still in her hand and dreamed of wolves running through snow-covered mountains under the northern lights. Morning came too soon. The SUVs were packed. Goodbyes were said. Luna Maria held her daughter tight and whispered fiercely, "You are strong. You are capable. You are loved. Come home anytime you need to." Dylan pulled Elena into a bear hug that lifted her off her feet. "If he hurts you, if anyone up there looks at you wrong, you call me. I don't care if I have to drive straight through for 18 hours. I'll be there." "I know," Elena whispered. "I love you, brother." "Love you too, little warrior." Alpha. Thomas Carter's goodbye was briefer, but no less meaningful. He placed both hands on Elena's shoulders and looked into her eyes. "You carry the Carter name. You carry our honor. But more than that, you carry your own strength. Don't let anyone make you forget that." "I won't, sir, I promise." He nodded once, satisfied, then handed her something small and metal. Elena looked down. A silver compass. Old, well used, the kind that had seen real navigation, real adventure. "That was my father's," Thomas said quietly. "Carried it through 3 wars. It always brought him home. Now it's yours." Elena's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. "Thank you." "No, thank you, for being brave enough to build something bigger than yourself." The drive to the airport was quiet. Marcus sat in the front passenger seat, reviewing tactical documents on a tablet. Alpha Stone drove. Elena sat in the back, watching Florida landscape roll past the window, trying to memorize every detail. At the private airfield, a sleek jet waited. Not commercial, military grade, the kind of plane that could get from Florida to Alaska in 5 hours instead of 9. Marcus carried Elena's bags up the stairs, setting them carefully in the luggage compartment. When he came back, he stood at the top of the stairs and extended his hand. "Ready?" Elena took his hand. Sparks shot up her arm at the contact, the mate bond making itself known. "Ready." The plane's interior was surprisingly comfortable. Leather seats, large windows, a small conference table covered in maps and reports. Alpha Stone settled into the pilot's seat, running through pre-flight checks with practiced ease. "You fly?" Elena asked. 20 years in the Air Force before I became Alpha," Stone replied. "Figure I might as well use the skills." Marcus gestured to a seat near the window. "Buckle in. It's about 5 hours to Anchorage, then another hour drive to pack territory." As the plane lifted off, Elena watched Florida shrink below them, watched her home become smaller and smaller until it disappeared into clouds. She thought about her mother's words, about strength and choice and the women who came before her. She thought about Marcus, sitting across the aisle, pretending to read reports but stealing glances when he thought she wasn't looking. She thought about Victor Kane, somewhere out there, building an army and planning violence. And she thought about herself. Elena Carter, 16 years old, 5'2", never shifted. The runt who ran 10 miles before dawn. The girl who negotiated training instead of accepting pity. The young woman who'd just agreed to move 800 miles north to marry a warrior and help stop a war. Maybe she was small. Maybe she hadn't shifted. Maybe the moon goddess had made her different for a reason. Elena pulled out her phone and sent one last text to Dylan. "I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." His response came immediately. "I know you are. Now go be amazing." She closed her eyes and let the engine's hum lull her into something approaching peace. When she woke, snow-covered mountains filled the windows, and Marcus was gently shaking her shoulder. "Welcome to Alaska, Elena Carter. Your new life starts now." The adventure was just beginning. Siege and sacrifice. Alaska hit Elena like a physical force. The cold wasn't just temperature, it was a presence, sharp and unforgiving, that cut through her Florida wardrobe like it was made of tissue paper. She stepped off the plane into air so crisp it hurt to breathe, and watched her breath form clouds that dissipated into the twilight. Because it was twilight. At 2 in the afternoon. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting the snow-covered mountains in shades of orange and purple that looked more like a painting than reality. "Welcome to November in Alaska," Marcus said, appearing beside her with a heavy jacket. "You'll want this." Elena took it gratefully, wrapping the thick fabric around herself. It smelled like pine and snow and something distinctly Marcus. The mate bond hummed approvingly at the scent. "How cold is it?" she asked. "About 15 degrees. This is mild for us." Marcus gestured toward a massive black pickup truck in the parking area. "Come on, packed territory is about an hour north. We'll stop and get you proper winter gear on the way." The drive through Alaska was like entering another world. Towering evergreens lined the highway, their branches heavy with snow. Mountains rose in the distance, jagged peaks that looked like they could cut the sky. And everywhere, that sense of vastness, of wilderness, of land that belonged to wolves far more than it belonged to humans. Marcus drove with easy confidence, one hand on the wheel, occasionally pointing out landmarks. "That's Mount McKinley. Well, technically Denali now, 20,000 feet of rock and ice. Our territory runs from the base of those foothills all the way to the Tanana River, about 50,000 acres total." "That's massive," Elena breathed. "Has to be. 1,200 pack members need room to run. Plus we've got allies who pass through regularly. Strategic location means we're basically the northern watch point for the entire continental werewolf network." He glanced at her. "You'll learn the geography, part of your training." They stopped at an outdoor supply store that looked like it could outfit an Arctic expedition. Marcus guided Elena through the aisles with military efficiency, pulling items off shelves without hesitation. Thermal underwear, wool socks, insulated boots rated for 40 below, gloves, hats, scarves, jackets in varying weights. "This is a lot of gear," Elena said, eyeing the growing pile. "Alaska doesn't forgive being unprepared," Marcus replied. "Trust me on this." At the register, Elena reached for her wallet. Marcus's hand closed gently over hers. "I've got it." "I can pay for my own clothes." "I know you can, but you're here because we asked you to be. Consider it a welcome gift from Frost Peak Pack." His eyes were serious. "Besides, you're going to earn every piece of this gear over the next few months. I promise you that." Something about the way he said it made Elena shiver, and not from the cold. Back on the road, Marcus's phone buzzed. He answered on speaker. "Kane here." "Marcus." The voice was deep, commanding, but with warmth underneath. "Alpha Grant Hayes." "You close?" "About 20 minutes out." "Good. We've got a situation. East Border Patrol just reported movement. Looks like rogues testing our defenses." Elena watched Marcus's entire demeanor shift. The casual driver disappeared. In his place sat a warrior, spine straight, eyes sharp. "How many?" "3 confirmed. Could be scouts. Could be a probe to test response time." "I'll be there in 15. Have Cole prep the rapid response team." Marcus's voice was ice and steel. "And Grant? Elena's with me." A pause. Then Alpha Hayes said, "Bring her to the pack house first. This isn't the welcome she needs." "Copy that." Marcus ended the call and pressed the accelerator. The truck surged forward, eating up the highway. Elena gripped the door handle. "What's happening?" "Welcome to life at war," Marcus said grimly. "Victor's rogues have been probing our borders for weeks. Never a full assault. Just testing, looking for weak points." He took a sharp turn onto a narrower road. They know we're organizing a coalition. They know other packs are considering joining us. Victor wants to show he's not afraid, wants to prove we can't protect our own territory. Are we safe? Safe is relative. But yes, Frost Peak territory is as secure as any place can be right now. He looked at her briefly. I won't let anything happen to you, Elena. That's not just mate bond talking. That's a promise. The pack house appeared suddenly, rising out of the forest like a fortress. And that's exactly what it was. 10 stories of reinforced concrete and steel, windows that looked bulletproof, and guard towers at each corner manned by wolves with very serious weapons. Marcus pulled into an underground parking garage, flashing an ID badge at multiple checkpoints. By the time they parked, Elena had counted at least 15 security cameras and half a dozen armed sentries. This is insane, she whispered. This is necessary. Marcus killed the engine. Come on, let's get you settled before I have to head out. The elevator required both a keycard and a fingerprint scan. It rose smoothly, and Elena's ears popped twice before they reached the 10th floor. The doors opened directly into a massive apartment. No, not an apartment. Quarters. Military precision in every detail. Clean lines, functional furniture, a wall of windows overlooking the forest and mountains, and weapons, locked in glass cases, displayed like art. Rifles, handguns, knives, everything deadly and perfectly maintained. This is home, Marcus said, setting her bags down. Master bedroom is through there. Office is on the right. Kitchen is stocked. Code for the elevator is 8873, but I'll get you your own access tomorrow. He was already moving toward the door, checking his phone, transforming into the beta who had a job to do. Elena caught his arm. Be careful. He looked down at where her hand touched him, and something flickered in his eyes. Always am. Then softer. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me or Alpha Hayes. And Elena, if you hear sirens, there's a panic room behind the bookshelf in the office. Red button opens it. Get inside and hit the lock. Don't come out until someone with the proper codes gets you. You're scaring me. Good. Fear keeps you alert. He squeezed her hand once, brief and warm. I'll be back. I promise. Then he was gone, and Elena was alone in a fortress apartment on top of a mountain, in a pack at war, 800 miles from home. She explored slowly, trying to memorize the layout. The master bedroom was surprisingly comfortable. King-sized bed, simple furniture, another wall of windows with blackout curtains. She found Marcus's clothes in the closet, neatly organized by type and color. Military precision even in civilian life. The office was exactly what she expected. Desk covered in tactical maps, computer with multiple monitors, and the weapons cases. She studied them, reading the labels. M4 carbine, Glock 19, KA bar fighting knife, each one marked with dates and locations, each one a story. Behind the bookshelf, just as Marcus said, she found the panic room. A reinforced steel door, hidden in plain sight. Elena memorized the location, hoping she'd never need to use it. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Did you arrive safely, baby? Elena sent back a quick reply. Yes, it's beautiful here, and terrifying. Love you. You've got this. Call me tomorrow. Love you more. Elena unpacked mechanically, hanging clothes in the closet next to Marcus's things. The domesticity of it felt strange. They were mates, but they barely knew each other. Connected by biology and duty, but strangers in all the ways that mattered. She was making tea in the kitchen when she heard it. A howl, long and mournful, rising from somewhere in the forest. Then another, and another, a chorus of voices calling out into the Alaskan night. The mate bond twisted in her chest. One of those voices was Marcus. She didn't know how she knew, but she did. Could feel him out there in the darkness, hunting, protecting, doing what betas did. Hours passed. Elena tried to read but couldn't focus, tried to sleep but kept startling awake at every sound. Around midnight, she finally gave up and went back to the windows, staring out at the endless forest. That's where Marcus found her when he came back, standing in the darkness, wrapped in one of his jackets, looking small and alone. Hey, he said softly from the doorway. Elena spun around. Marcus looked exhausted. His clothes were torn. Blood stained his shirt, though she didn't think it was his, but he was whole, safe. Are you hurt? She asked. Not my blood. We caught 2 of the rogues. Third one got away. He moved to the kitchen, grabbing a bottle of water and drinking half of it in one go. They were scouts, counting our numbers, testing our response time. Did you? Elena didn't know how to finish the question. Kill them? No. We took them alive for questioning. Marcus set the water down. War isn't about revenge, Elena. It's about intelligence. Those rogues know things about Victor's army, locations, numbers, plans. That information is worth more than their deaths. What will happen to them? Alpha Hayes will interrogate them. Then he'll offer a choice. Join Frost Peak under probation or be executed for treaty violations. Marcus's voice was flat, matter of fact. Most choose to join. Victor rules through fear. We rule through honor. Given the option, most wolves choose honor. Elena absorbed this, the casual discussion of execution, the military efficiency of it all. This was Marcus's world, and now it was hers, too. You should sleep, she said quietly. Yeah. But Marcus didn't move, just stood there, looking at her like he was memorizing details. I'm glad you're here. I know that's selfish. I know this is dangerous and you'd be safer in Florida. But I'm glad. I'm glad too, Elena admitted. Terrified, but glad. Terrified is smart. Marcus finally smiled, just a little. Get some rest. Tomorrow morning, 0500, your training starts. 5 a.m. Warriors don't sleep in. He headed toward what she assumed was a guest room. Good night, Elena Carter. Good night, Marcus Kane. But Elena barely slept. Every sound made her jump. Every creak of the building made her wonder if it was an attack. When her alarm finally went off at 4:30, she was almost grateful for the excuse to stop trying. She dressed in the workout clothes she'd brought from Florida and found Marcus already awake in the kitchen drinking coffee. He'd changed into tactical pants and a compression shirt that showed exactly how much muscle he carried. Ready? He asked. I ran 10 miles yesterday morning. I can handle whatever you throw at me. We'll see. But he was smiling. Come on, training grounds are on level 2. The training facility was enormous. Olympic-sized gym, combat mats, weights, obstacle courses, and currently 20 wolves in various stages of working out. They all stopped when Marcus entered, snapping to attention. At ease, Marcus said. This is Elena Carter. She's our new beta female. She'll be training with us starting today. I expect you to treat her with the same respect you'd give any warrior. His eyes swept the room. Which means no going easy on her just because she's the Alpha's daughter. She wants to earn her place. Let's give her that opportunity. A muscular woman with dark skin and sharp eyes stepped forward. Sarah Mitchell, sir, sniper team leader. Welcome, beta female. Just Elena, please, Elena said. I haven't earned titles yet. Sarah's respect was immediate and visible. Yes, ma'am. Looking forward to training with you. The next 3 hours were brutal. Marcus ran them through drills that left Elena gasping. Sprints, burpees, mountain climbers, rope climbs, and hand-to-hand combat that showed her exactly how unprepared she was. Cole Mitchell, the head warrior and apparently Sarah's brother, put her through a basic assessment. Within 10 minutes, he'd thrown Elena to the mat 5 times, but each time she got back up. You've got heart, Cole said, offering her a hand up after the 6th throw. But heart doesn't win fights. Technique does. Let's work on your foundation. By the time Marcus called an end to the session, Elena could barely stand. Every muscle screamed. Her hands were blistered. Her knees were bruised from hitting the mats. Good work, Marcus said, and the praise felt earned. Tomorrow we'll work on weapons. Can't wait, Elena managed. In the showers, she met the other female warriors. Sarah, Mia, the medic, Rachel, who specialized in explosives. They were friendly but professional, asking questions about Florida, about her family, about why she'd chosen to come north. My mate is your beta, Elena said simply, and you're at war. Where else would I be? The answer satisfied them. By the time Elena made it back to the apartment, she was moving like an old woman. Marcus took one look at her and laughed. Ice bath, he said. Trust me. The ice bath was torture. Elena sat in freezing water for 15 minutes, gritting her teeth against the cold. But when she climbed out, her muscles felt marginally better. How long did it take you to get used to this? She asked Marcus over lunch. The training? About 6 months before I stopped feeling like I was dying. He pushed a protein shake toward her. Drink this. Your body needs fuel. I feel like I should ask for a day off. You can, any time. But the rogues won't give you a day off if they attack. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. I'm pushing you because I need you to survive, Elena. Not as my mate, as my partner, as the beta female this pack is going to rely on when things get worse. When, not if. Victor's building toward something. I can feel it. Marcus stared out the window. He's not just raiding randomly. He's got a plan, and whatever it is, it's going to be bad. The days blended together. Training at 5 a.m., breakfast, strategy sessions where Marcus taught her to read tactical maps and understand pack security protocols. Lunch, more training, dinner, and then quiet evenings where she and Marcus slowly learned each other. She discovered he played piano, classical music mostly. Chopin and Debussy, played with surprising gentleness for hands that could kill. He discovered she spoke 3 languages, English, Spanish, and French, learned from her multilingual mother. Useful skill, Marcus commented. Some of our allied packs are international. I like knowing how people think, Elena said. Language tells you about culture, about values. You'd make a good intelligence officer. I'd make a good beta female, Elena corrected. That's what I'm here to become. 1 week turned into 2. Elena's body adapted. The ice baths hurt less. The training became routine rather than torture. She graduated from basic hand-to-hand to weapons training. Learned to field strip and reassemble a Glock 19 in under 2 minutes. Learned to shoot with accuracy that surprised even Cole. You're a natural, he said, watching her put 5 rounds center mass at 25 yards. Most new shooters flinch. You don't. I've been flinching my whole life, Elena said quietly. I'm done with that now. But the real breakthrough came during a night training exercise. Marcus had Elena running an obstacle course in the dark, night vision goggles turning the world into shades of green. She was halfway through when alarms blared. Real alarms, not a drill. All personnel, east border breach, 3 hostiles, rapid response team mobilize. Alpha Hayes' voice echoed through the compound. Elena froze, adrenaline spiking. Marcus appeared beside her, already armed. Back to the apartment now. I want to help. You're not ready. Then when will I be ready? Elena pulled off the night vision goggles. You said you were training me to be a warrior. Let me fight. Marcus studied her for a long moment. Then, against what was probably his better judgment, he nodded. Stay behind me, stay close. You see combat, you observe. You do not engage unless I specifically order you to. Understand? Yes, sir. They moved through the forest like shadows, Elena following Marcus's lead, trying to step where he stepped, breathe when he breathed. Around them, other wolves converged. Grant appeared, flanked by 6 warriors, Cole leading another team. The rogues had made it 2 miles into Frost Peak territory before being spotted. They were large wolves, scarred, dangerous-looking. When they shifted to human form, Elena saw why. These weren't random rogues. These were soldiers, trained, disciplined. One of them was missing an eye. Another had burn scars covering half his face. The third was missing 2 fingers on his left hand. Veterans of Victor's War. Well, well, the one-eyed rogue said. The famous Alpha Hayes and his puppy Beta. Victor sends his regards. You're trespassing, Grant said, voice cold. Surrender or die. We're not here to fight. The rogue smiled, showing teeth. We're here to deliver a message. What message? Victor knows about the coalition, knows about the pretty little beta female you imported from Florida. The rogue's gaze found Elena, and his smile widened. Hello there, princess. My boss has been very interested in meeting you. Ice flooded Elena's veins. They knew. Victor knew about her. Marcus stepped in front of Elena, blocking her from view. You've delivered your message. Now leave before we add 3 more bodies to the border. So protective. The rogue laughed. That's going to make this so much more fun. See, Victor wanted me to tell you something specific. He's coming for her. And when he takes her, when he breaks her, you're going to watch. Just like you watched him kill your sister. Marcus moved so fast, Elena almost didn't see it. One moment he was standing still. The next, his fist connected with the rogue's jaw, sending him sprawling. Mention Lily again and I'll rip your throat out. The rogue spat blood. There it is, the rage, your father's rage. You're more like him than you want to admit, Beta Kane. Grant's hand on Marcus's shoulder stopped him from attacking again. Enough. Cole, escort these rogues to the border. Tell them if they cross into our territory again, we won't be so merciful. The rogues left, laughing, but the damage was done. Back at the pack house, Elena found Marcus in his office, hands braced on his desk, breathing hard. Marcus, don't. His voice was raw. Don't tell me it's okay. Don't tell me he was just trying to get in my head. I was going to say thank you for defending me. He looked up, surprised. That rogue was threatening me, trying to scare me. You shut it down." Elena moved closer. "But he was also right about one thing. Victor is planning something that involves me. I won't let him take you. Then we need to be ready, both of us." Elena took a breath. "I think it's time you told me everything. About your father, about what happened to Lily, all of it." Marcus was quiet for so long, Elena thought he wouldn't answer. Then he moved to the window, staring out at the darkness. "I was 6 years old when my father killed my mother." The words hung in the air like smoke. She wasn't his mate. Not his true mate. Their families arranged it. Political marriage between two powerful bloodlines. My father was Beta. My mother was an Alpha's daughter. On paper, perfect match. Marcus's reflection in the window looked haunted. But then my mother found her true mate, a rogue passing through territory. They started meeting in secret, and my mother got pregnant. With Lily. Elena's heart broke for the child Marcus had been. My father didn't know at first. Thought Lily was his. But when she was born, it was obvious. She looked nothing like him. Looked exactly like her real father. Marcus's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "I was sleeping when it happened. Woke up to screaming. Found my father standing over my mother's body. Blood everywhere. He looked at me and said, 'She betrayed us, son. Remember that. Never let anyone make a fool of you.'" "Marcus." I grabbed Lily and ran. She was 2 years old. Barely understood what was happening. I got us to Grant's house. His father was Alpha then. They found my mother in the woods the next morning. My father had staged it to look like a rogue attack. But you told the truth. I told Grant's father what I saw. Every detail. They exiled Victor. Stripped him of his Beta title. Sent him away with nothing but the clothes on his back. Marcus turned to face Elena. He swore revenge. Said he'd destroy everything I ever loved. I thought he was just angry. Thought he'd move on. But he came back. Last year, Lily was 18, newly graduated, planning to join the military like me. She and Grant had just discovered they were mates. Marcus's hands clenched. She went for a run. Got too close to the border. Victor had been watching, waiting. He grabbed her. Mind linked us. Made us listen as he told her exactly what he was going to do. Elena felt sick. Grant and I ran, faster than we'd ever run, but we were too late. Found her at the border, throat cut, still warm. Victor was gone. Left a message carved in a tree. One down, more to come. The silence that followed was deafening. Grant lost his mate that day. I lost my sister. And I swore I would never care about anyone again because caring gave Victor ammunition. Marcus looked at Elena with eyes full of pain. Then the moon goddess sent me you. And I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive losing you too. Elena crossed the room and took his hands. Then we don't lose. We fight. Together. He'll come for you, Elena. I know, so let's make sure I'm ready when he does. That night, for the first time since Elena arrived, Marcus didn't retreat to the guest room. They lay together in the master bedroom, not touching, but close, connected by the mate bond and by shared determination. "Tell me about Lily," Elena said into the darkness. "Not how she died. How she lived." Marcus was quiet. Then slowly he began to talk. About a little girl who collected rocks, who could make anyone laugh, who decided at age 12 she wanted to be a Marine like her big brother, who was fierce and loyal and had their mother's kindness. Elena listened, and slowly Marcus's breathing evened out. He fell asleep still talking, still remembering. And Elena made a silent promise to the sister she'd never meet. "I'll help him heal. I'll help him win. And Victor Kane will answer for what he took from you." By the end of the second week, the rogue attacks had increased in frequency. Small probes, hit-and-run tactics, never enough to commit to full battle, but enough to keep Frost Peak warriors constantly deployed and constantly exhausted. "He's wearing us down," Grant said during a war council Elena was allowed to attend. "Classic siege tactics. Pressure without full commitment. Wait for us to make a mistake." "Then we don't make mistakes," Marcus replied. "But everyone makes mistakes eventually." It was late in the third week when the pattern changed. The rogues who'd been probing borders suddenly appeared at the main gate. 3 of them. The same 3 from before. The one-eyed veteran stepped forward and called out, "We have a message from Victor Kane for Beta female Elena Carter. He requests a meeting, just the 2 of them. No weapons, no warriors, just talk." Grant's response was immediate. "Tell Victor Kane he can rot in hell." "He said you'd say that." The rogue smiled. "He also said to tell you that he knows where the southern safe house is located. He knows which routes your supply convoys take. And he knows that Beta Female trains every morning at 0500 in the Level 2 facility. The smile widened. He's been watching, learning, waiting for the perfect moment. The message was clear. Victor had intelligence, deep intelligence, which meant either he had someone on the inside or his surveillance was far more sophisticated than they'd thought. After the rogues left, Grant called an emergency meeting. Every ranking officer, every team leader, Marcus and Elena. "We have a leak," Grant said flatly, "or we're being watched more closely than we realized. Either way, we need to change everything. Patrol routes, training schedules, supply runs, everything." "That'll take time," Cole pointed out. "Time to retrain everyone. Time to establish new protocols." "Then we do it fast." Grant looked at Marcus. "Double Elena's security detail. She doesn't go anywhere alone." "Understood." That night, Elena and Marcus stood on their balcony, looking out at the forest. Somewhere out there, Victor was planning, watching, waiting. "He's going to make his move soon," Marcus said quietly. "I can feel it." "Then we'll be ready." Elena leaned against him. "We've trained for this, prepared for this." "I love you, Elena Carter." The words came out raw and honest. "I should have said it sooner, should have been brave enough to admit it, but I love you. Not just because of the mate bond, but because you're you." "I love you too, Marcus Kane." Elena turned to face him. "And when Victor comes, because we both know he will, we'll face him together." "Together," Marcus agreed, pulling her close. They stood there as snow began to fall, two warriors bound by love and duty, preparing for the battle they knew was coming. The war was far from over, but they would fight it side by side, and that made all the difference. Blood, honor, and the reckoning. 1 week after the rogue messenger delivered Victor's threat, Elena woke to find Marcus already gone. Not unusual. He often left before dawn for patrol briefings. What was unusual was the note on his pillow. "Taking you somewhere today. Be ready by 1000. Dress warm. Bring the Glock. Love, M." Elena stared at that last word. Love. They'd said it to each other on the balcony a week ago, but seeing it written down made it feel more real, more permanent. She pressed the note to her chest and smiled. At 9:45, she was ready. Thermal layers under jeans, heavy boots, the Glock 19 holstered at her hip, familiar weight now instead of foreign object. Her shooting scores had climbed steadily. Last week, she'd outscored half of Cole's warrior team. Marcus appeared at exactly 1000, dressed in tactical gear, but smiling. "Ready for an adventure?" "Where are we going?" "You'll see. It's about an hour drive." They took the truck, heading deeper into Frost Peak territory than Elena had been before. The forest grew thicker, the road narrower. Finally, Marcus turned onto what was barely a path, following it to a clearing where a barn stood alone against the tree line. "Is this—" "My mother's place. Well, what's left of it." Marcus killed the engine. "She loved horses. Convinced my father to buy this property when I was 5. She'd come out here to ride, to think, to be away from pack politics." Elena followed him to the barn. Inside, a single horse stood in a stall, gray and enormous and beautiful. "This is Ghost," Marcus said, stroking the horse's nose. "Kenny's son. I kept him after everything happened. Figured my mother would have wanted that. He's gorgeous. Want to ride?" Elena had ridden exactly twice in her life, both times on a pony at a county fair when she was 8. But she nodded anyway. Marcus saddled Ghost with practiced efficiency, then swung up onto the horse's back. He extended his hand down to Elena. "Come on, I won't let you fall." She took his hand, and he pulled her up behind him like she weighed nothing. Elena wrapped her arms around Marcus's waist, feeling the solid strength of him, and Ghost started walking. They rode through the clearing and into the forest, following trails only Marcus seemed to see. The world narrowed to the rhythm of the horse's gait, the warmth of Marcus's body, and the stunning beauty of Alaska winter. Snow clung to branches, icicles caught sunlight and threw rainbows. Somewhere distant, a wolf howled. After 30 minutes, they emerged at a frozen lake. Marcus dismounted and helped Elena down, then tied Ghost to a tree. "I used to come here with my mother," he said quietly. "Before everything went wrong, she'd pack sandwiches and we'd sit right here watching the ice." Elena took his hand, just held it. "I wanted to show you this place because it's the last good memory I have of her. Before Victor destroyed our family, before I learned that love could be weaponized." Marcus turned to face her. "But then you showed up, and you're teaching me something I'd forgotten. What's that? That love can also be armor, when you fight beside someone instead of for them. He cupped her face with both hands. I love you, Elena Carter. Not just because the moon goddess says you're mine, but because you're brave and stubborn and you refuse to be anyone's victim, including mine. I love you too, Marcus Kane. Elena rose on her toes to kiss him. And when Victor comes, because we both know he will, we'll face him together. Together, Marcus agreed. They stayed at the lake for another hour, talking about everything and nothing, making plans for after the war, imagining futures that might be possible if they survived. When they finally rode back to the barn, the sun was already setting, 4 in the afternoon, and full darkness coming. Alaska winter didn't forgive dawdling. Marcus was unsaddling Ghost when his phone rang. He answered, and Elena watched his entire body go rigid. When? How many? Casualties? A pause. We're 40 minutes out. I'll be there as fast as I can. He ended the call and turned to Elena, face grim. West border, full assault, 20 rogues. They hit us hard. Let's go. They made the drive in 35 minutes, Marcus pushing the truck to speeds that should have been illegal. When they pulled into packhouse parking, chaos greeted them. Warriors running, medics treating wounded, and the smell of blood heavy in the air. Grant met them at the entrance, his shirt torn and blood splattered. Not his blood, Elena realized. Report, Marcus said immediately. Coordinated attack. 20 rogues hit the west border at 1500, drew our patrols that direction. Meanwhile, 5 more tried to breach the north side. Grant's jaw clenched. We stopped them, but it cost us. 3 warriors down, 5 more injured. They were testing our full response capability. Victor's planning something bigger. That's my assessment. Grant looked at Elena. And I think you're the target. One of the rogues we captured keeps asking about the beta female, wants to know where you are, if you're alone. Ice flooded Elena's veins. They want to draw you out, Marcus. Use me as bait. Then we don't give them the opportunity. Marcus was already moving, thinking tactically. Elena stays in the pack house, top floor, full security detail. I can help, Elena protested. You can help by staying alive, Marcus said, voice sharp with fear disguised as command. Please, Elena, just this once, let me protect you. She wanted to argue, wanted to insist she'd earned her place in the fight. But the look in Marcus's eyes stopped her. Raw terror. The same fear he must have felt when Lily was taken. Okay, Elena said quietly, but you come back to me. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. For the next several days, Elena lived like a prisoner in the pack house. Cole stationed guards outside her door. Sarah brought meals. Marcus came and went at odd hours, exhausted and stressed, but always checking on her. The rogue attacks continued. Small probes, hit-and-run tactics, never enough to commit to full battle, but enough to keep Frost Peak warriors constantly deployed and constantly exhausted. He's wearing us down, Grant said during a war council Elena was allowed to attend. Classic siege tactics. Pressure without full commitment. Wait for us to make a mistake. Then we don't make mistakes, Marcus replied. But everyone makes mistakes eventually. It happened on a Thursday morning. Marcus had an emergency meeting with 3 neighboring alphas. Grant needed to inspect southern defenses. Cole was drilling new recruits. For exactly 2 hours, the pack house was operating on minimal security. Elena was in the apartment working through tactical scenarios Marcus had assigned when her phone rang. Unknown number. She should have ignored it, should have let it go to voicemail, but some instinct made her answer. Hello? Hello, daughter-in-law. The voice was rough, deep, almost familiar because it sounded so much like Marcus. I think it's time we met. Elena's blood turned to ice. Victor! Very good. You're smarter than I expected. Then again, you'd have to be to survive as a runt in an alpha's household. Victor's voice carried dark amusement. Look out your window, dear. The big one facing west. Elena's hand shook as she moved to the window, looked out. Victor Kane stood at the tree line 400 yards away. Even from that distance, she could see he was massive. Black hair shot through with gray, scars visible on his face and arms. And he was waving, actually waving at her like they were old friends. There you are, Victor said through the phone. Pretty little thing. I can see why my son is so taken with you. Stay away from us. I'm afraid I can't do that. You see, you're the key to everything. My son loves you. Your presence made this coalition possible. You're the bridge between packs. Victor's tone turned cold. And bridges can be burned. Elena's mind raced. Security protocols, panic room. She started backing toward the office. "I wouldn't bother running," Victor said. "I'm not alone, and neither are you." Behind her, Elena heard the apartment door open. She spun around. A man stood in the entrance, tall, scarred, holding a knife. "Hello, sweetheart," the rogue said. "Let's go for a ride." Elena ran. Not toward the panic room, toward the kitchen. Grabbed the cast iron skillet from the stove and swung it with everything she had, connected with the rogue's skull. He went down hard, but there were more. 2 more coming through the door. Elena dodged, using her small size as an advantage, slipped between them, made it to the hallway. Alarms blared. Someone had triggered building security, but the rogues were fast. One caught her at the elevator, slammed her against the wall. Elena drove her elbow into his throat, remembering Cole's training. He released her, choking. She ran for the stairs, made it down 3 flights before hands grabbed her from behind. A cloth pressed over her mouth and nose, chemical smell, sweet and wrong. Elena fought, bit down on fingers, kicked backwards, but the drug was already working. Her vision blurred. Her legs stopped responding to commands. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Marcus's face on her phone screen. He was calling her, trying to reach her. She couldn't answer. When Elena woke, pain greeted her first. Her head throbbed, her wrists burned. She tried to move and realized she was tied to a chair. Metal. Cold. In a room that smelled of mold and old blood. "Good morning, Princess." Elena's eyes focused. Victor Kane sat across from her in another chair, studying her like she was a puzzle to solve. "How do you feel?" he asked conversationally. Elena said nothing. "Strong silent type. I respect that." Victor stood, moving around her in a slow circle. "You know what I find interesting? My son chose you, the runt, the one who couldn't shift. Out of all the strong, capable she-wolves in his pack, he chose the smallest one." Elena kept her face blank. "At first I thought he was weak, making a weak choice." Victor stopped in front of her. "But then I did research. Found out you train every morning, score higher than wolves twice your size on the gun range, refuse to quit no matter how hard they push you." He smiled. "You're not weak. You're underestimated. And that's a weapon, isn't it?" "What do you want?" Elena's voice came out steady despite the fear. "Information. About border defenses, patrol schedules, where Grant keeps his strategic reserves." Victor pulled out a knife, silver blade catching the light. "And you're going to tell me." "No, I'm not." "We'll see." The torture started slow. Victor was methodical, clinical. He'd done this before. Started with pressure points. Moved to silver cuts on her arms. Shallow, not life-threatening, just painful. Elena bit her tongue until she tasted blood. Refused to scream. Refused to give him the satisfaction. "Impressive pain tolerance," Victor noted, "but everyone breaks eventually." He was right. When he pressed silver directly to old training bruises, Elena screamed. Couldn't help it. The pain was blinding. Through the agony she felt Marcus. The mate bond carried her pain to him. She tried to block it, to spare him, but she was too weak. "That's better," Victor said. "Now, tell me where the safe house is located." Elena's mind raced through fog and pain. She thought about Marcus's training, about resistance interrogation techniques he'd taught her. Never give real information. Feed false intelligence. Make them work for every answer. "North border," she gasped out. 5 miles in. Underground bunker." It was complete fabrication. The safe house was actually south border, but Victor didn't know that. Coordinates? Elena gave him numbers, random, meaningless, but said with enough conviction that he believed her. "Good girl." Victor actually patted her head. "See? That wasn't so hard." He left her alone then, tied to the chair in the dark. Elena used the time to assess. Her wrists were bound with rope, not metal. She could feel give when she twisted. The chair was old, might break if she could rock hard enough. But more importantly, she'd left a trail. During the struggle in the apartment, she'd scratched one of the rogues, his DNA under her fingernails. She'd dropped her phone by the elevator, left blood in 3 different locations. Marcus would find her. She just had to survive until he did. Hours passed. Could have been 6, could have been 12. Hard to tell in the darkness. Victor came back twice. Each time, Elena gave him false information said with conviction. Played the broken victim learning to cooperate. He believed it. Why wouldn't he? She was small, young, outmatched. Of course she'd break. But Elena Carter had never broken in her life, and she wasn't starting now. On what she thought was the 3rd day, a different rogue brought food. Young, maybe 20. He didn't look at her like the others did, wouldn't meet her eyes. "You don't want to be here," Elena said quietly. The rogue flinched. "Eat your food." "What's your name?" "Doesn't matter." "It matters to you." Elena took a chance. "You're not like them. I can see it. Whatever Victor promised you, whatever he's holding over you, there's another way." The rogue finally looked at her. "There's no other way for wolves like me." "Yes, there is. Frost Peak takes in rogues, gives them second chances." Elena leaned forward as much as her bindings allowed. "Help me get out of here. I promise you sanctuary." "They'd never take me. I've done things." "So has everyone. War makes monsters of us all. But we don't have to stay monsters." Elena's voice was soft but intense. "What's your name?" "Garrett." "Garrett, I'm Elena, and I'm asking you to choose, right here, right now. Choose honor over fear." Garrett stared at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head and left. But an hour later he came back, this time with a key. "I don't know if they'll really give me sanctuary," Garrett whispered, unlocking her restraints. "But I know Victor's going to kill you, and I'm done watching innocent people die." Elena's wrists came free. She rubbed circulation back into them. "Where are we?" "Old mining complex, 40 miles north of Frost Peak territory, 3 levels underground. You're on level 2. Garrett handed her a knife. "I can get you to the north tunnel. After that, you're on your own." "Come with me." "I'll slow you down." Garrett managed to smile. "Besides, someone needs to make sure Victor doesn't realize you're gone for as long as possible. Go, run." Elena grabbed his arm. "Thank you, Garrett. When this is over, find me. I'll keep my promise." They moved through dark corridors, Garrett leading. They passed cells with other prisoners, wolves who'd been taken from various packs. Elena memorized faces, locations, intelligence Marcus would need. They were 50 feet from the tunnel exit when Victor's voice echoed through the complex. "Lockdown! The girl is loose! Find her now!" "Go!" Garrett shoved Elena toward the tunnel. "I'll hold them off." "Garrett!" "Go!" Elena ran. Behind her, she heard fighting, heard Garrett's voice raised in defiance, heard Victor's roar of rage. Then silence. Garrett had bought her escape with his life. Elena ran through this tunnel, tears streaming down her face. The passage was narrow, claustrophobic, barely tall enough to run through. It sloped upward, toward surface, toward freedom. She burst out into snow and moonlight. Night. Had to be past midnight. She had no idea where she was. No phone, no supplies, just a knife and determination. Behind her, voices. Rogues entering the tunnel, coming after her. Elena ran into the forest. Her Florida body hated the cold, but she pushed through it, used every trick Marcus had taught her, varied her path, crossed a frozen stream to break her scent trail, climbed trees and jumped to other branches. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs threatened to give out, ran until she couldn't hear pursuit anymore. Then she climbed a massive pine tree and wedged herself in the upper branches, hidden by needles and snow. That's where she finally stopped, shivering, exhausted, but alive. She reached for the mate bond, pushing through the walls she'd erected. "Marcus, Marcus, I'm out. I'm alive. North of the complex, don't know exact location." The response was immediate and overwhelming. "Elena, thank God, stay hidden. We're coming. I'm coming. Hold on, love, just hold on." Elena wrapped her arms around herself and waited. Above her, the northern lights danced across the sky. Green and purple curtains of light that her mother had told her about but she'd never seen. Beautiful. Even in the middle of terror and exhaustion, Alaska was beautiful. She must have dozed because the next thing Elena knew, wolves were moving below her tree. Big wolves. But these moved with military precision. Frost Peak warriors. "Up here," she called softly. 6 faces looked up, and then Marcus was there, shifting to human form, climbing the tree like gravity was optional, reaching her. "Elena." His voice broke on her name. "I thought I'd lost you." "Not that easy to kill," she managed. Marcus pulled her against him, and Elena finally let herself shake, let herself be scared, let herself be held. "I've got you," Marcus whispered. "You're safe now. I've got you." Cole's voice from below. "Beta, we need to move. Victor's patrols could double back." Marcus carefully climbed down with Elena. The moment they touched ground, he shifted. His wolf was huge, gray and powerful. He crouched low and Elena climbed onto his back, gripping his fur. Then they ran, 6 wolves moving through forest like ghosts, fast and silent and absolutely deadly. They reached Frost Peak territory an hour later. Medical teams waited. Elena was checked over, wounds cleaned and bandaged, 15 cuts, second-degree burns on her wrists, dehydration, but alive, whole. Grant appeared as they were finishing. "Marcus, War Council, now." "I'm not leaving her," Marcus said immediately. "Bring her. She's got intelligence we need." The war room was packed. 50 wolves, every ranking officer in Frost Peak, plus faces Elena didn't recognize. Other betas, other alphas. The coalition had assembled. Grant stood at the head of the table. "Elena, tell us everything." So she did. Described the complex layout, the number of rogues, the cells with prisoners, Victor's questions about defenses, and Garrett, what he'd sacrificed. 40 miles north, Cole said, marking a map. "That's the old Silver Ridge mine. Abandoned 20 years ago. Multiple tunnels, defensible position." "How many hostiles?" Grant asked. "I counted at least 50, Elena said. "Could be more on other levels." "Against our 350 warriors plus allied forces." Grant studied the map. "We have numbers, but he has defensive advantage." An older alpha Elena didn't know spoke up. "Frontal assault will cost lives, lots of them." "Then we don't do frontal assault." Marcus leaned over the map. "We do what Victor doesn't expect. We do special operations." He outlined a plan, 4-phase operation, reconnaissance, isolation, infiltration, and if those failed, overwhelming force. "I'll lead the infiltration team," Marcus said. "No," Elena's voice cut through the room. "We lead it, together." Every eye turned to her. "With respect, beta female," Cole said carefully, "you've just been through hell. You need rest." "What I need is to finish this." Elena stood, ignoring her body's protests. "I know the layout. I know which tunnels connect to where. I know which guards are loyal to Victor and which ones are just scared." She looked at Grant. "You need me for this mission, Alpha, and you know it." Grant studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "She's right. Cole, prep infiltration team, 20 wolves, best we have. Marcus and Elena lead, wheels up at 0400. The room emptied quickly, wolves moving to prepare. Marcus caught Elena's arm. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do. For Garrett, for Lily, for every wolf Victor has hurt." Elena met his eyes. "And for us, because this ends tonight." Marcus kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of everything they might not get to say later. "Together," he whispered against her lips. "Together," Elena agreed. They spent the next hours preparing. Elena was issued tactical gear, body armor, weapons, communications equipment. She looked like a warrior, felt like one too. At 0300, headlights cut through the darkness. A convoy arriving. Elena looked up and her heart nearly stopped. Dylan jumped out of the lead vehicle, followed by 20 Moonstone warriors in full combat gear. "Dylan!" Elena ran to her brother. He caught her in a crushing hug. "Dad sent me the moment he heard you were taken. Took emergency leave from West Point. Drove straight through with our best warriors." Dylan's voice was rough with emotion. "Said to tell you he's proud. Mom's proud. And I'm not letting you do this without family backup." "You left school for me?" "Of course I did. You're my sister." Dylan held her at arm's length, studying her face. "Don't die out there, Elena. Please don't die." "Not planning on it." The convoy left at 0400, 12 vehicles, 370 wolves now, with the Moonstone reinforcement, an army moving through pre-dawn darkness toward war. They stopped 3 miles from the complex. Grant's main force would wait here, hold position, be ready if the infiltration failed. Marcus's team moved forward on foot, 22 wolves counting him, Elena, and Dylan. They reached the complex just as false dawn touched the horizon. Cole's sniper teams established overwatch positions. Sarah's voice came through comms. "I have eyes on. 12 hostiles on surface level. Shift changes in 10 minutes. "Copy that," Marcus replied. "Stand by." The infiltration team split. Marcus leading half through the north tunnel Elena had escaped from. Dylan leading the other half through a ventilation shaft Cole's people had found on the blueprints. Elena moved beside Marcus, every sense heightened. They encountered guards, took them down silently. Zip ties and gags, no kills unless necessary. These were Victor's victims too, wolves who deserved second chances. They reached level 2. Elena recognized the corridor. Her cell was 30 feet ahead. "There," she whispered. "Right turn takes you to the main chamber. That's where Victor will be." Marcus signaled the team. They stacked up. Professional, ready. Then all hell broke loose. Alarms shrieked, lights blazed, and Victor's voice boomed through speakers. "Did you really think I wouldn't know you were coming, son? I've been watching you stumble around my tunnels for the past 10 minutes. Welcome home." It was a trap. The whole thing was a trap. Rogues poured from side passages. 20, 30, more. The corridor became a war zone. Gunfire, snarling wolves, blood. Marcus shifted, his wolf tearing into enemies. Elena stayed human, using the Glock. Center mass, 2 shots per target, just like Cole taught her. She dropped 3 rogues before her magazine emptied. Dylan's team burst through from the other direction, flanking the rogues. The tide turned, but it cost them. Elena saw wolves go down, saw blood, saw death. And through it all, Victor watched from the main chamber doorway, smiling. "Come on, son," he called. "Let's finish this." Marcus charged. Elena ran after him. They burst into the main chamber together. Victor waited in the center. He'd shifted to his human form, massive, scarred, holding a silver knife. "There you are," Victor said. "Both of you, perfect." Marcus shifted back to human. "This ends tonight, old man." "Yes, it does." Victor's eyes found Elena. "You've got spirit, girl. I can see why he loves you. Lily had spirit too, right up until I cut her throat." Marcus roared and attacked. Father and son collided like thunder. They fought with brutal efficiency. No wasted movement, just violence and hate and decades of pain. Victor was bigger, stronger, but Marcus was faster, better trained. He landed blow after blow. But Victor fought dirty, grabbed a handful of silver powder from his pocket and threw it in Marcus's face. Marcus screamed, clawing at his eyes. Victor moved in for the kill. Elena didn't think. She shifted. For the first time in her life, Elena Carter finally shifted. The change ripped through her. Agony and ecstasy. Bones breaking and reforming, skin stretching. And then she was wolf. Small, silver-white, fast. She hit Victor from the side. Her teeth found his arm, tasted blood. Victor roared and backhanded her. Elena flew across the room, hit the wall, reverted to human. But she'd bought time. Marcus recovered, grabbed the silver knife Victor had dropped, and when Victor turned back, Marcus drove the blade up under his father's ribs, into his heart. Victor gasped, looked down at the knife, then up at his son. "You have my rage," he whispered. "One day it'll destroy you too." "No." Marcus's voice was steady. "I have her, and she's my anchor, my honor, my reason to be better than you." Victor's eyes glazed. He fell, and it was over. The battle raged on for another hour in the tunnels. But with Victor dead, the rogues lost coordination. Most surrendered. Some fled. Grant's forces swept through, securing the complex, freeing prisoners. Final count: 47 rogues dead, 23 captured. 12 Frost Peak warriors killed, 29 wounded. Coalition forces, 8 dead, 15 wounded. Heavy cost, but victory. Elena sat against a wall, wrapped in a blanket someone had given her. Her body ached. Her mind felt fuzzy. She'd shifted, finally shifted, and her wolf was small and silver and nothing like she'd expected. Marcus dropped down beside her. His face was bruised, his hands were bloody, but he was alive. "You shifted," he said. "I shifted," Elena agreed. "You're beautiful. I'm small. You're perfect." Marcus pulled her close. "You saved my life, Elena Carter." We saved each other. They sat there while chaos swirled around them. 2 warriors, 2 survivors, 2 people who'd found each other in the middle of war and decided to hold on. 3 weeks later, Elena stood in the great hall of Frost Peak Pack House. 300 wolves filled the space, plus another 100 from allied packs. The coalition had won, and now came the ceremony. Grant stood at the front, dressed in formal alpha regalia. Beside him, Marcus wore beta insignia, and Elena wore a silver dress that Maria had sent from Florida, along with her parents and Dylan, who'd driven straight through to be there. "Elena Carter," Grant said formally, "you came to us as a stranger. You became one of us through blood and sacrifice. You fought beside us, bled for us, led us with wisdom beyond your years." He lifted a silver chain. "I offer you now the position of beta female of Frost Peak Pack. Do you accept?" Elena looked at Marcus. He smiled, nodded. "I accept," Elena said clearly. "On my honor, on my blood. I swear to serve Frost Peak, to lead with wisdom, to fight with courage, and to protect this pack with everything I am." Grant placed the chain around her neck. The beta female insignia, earned, not given. The pack erupted in howls, voices raised in approval and acceptance. That night, there was a celebration. Food and drink and laughter, stories of the battle, toasts to the fallen, including Garrett, whose sacrifice would be remembered, plans for peace and rebuilding. Elena slipped away to the balcony, needing air and a moment to process everything that had happened. Marcus found her there, looking out at the northern lights painting the sky. "You okay?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I'm thinking about everyone we lost. Garrett, Lily, the 12 Frost Peak warriors, the Allied pack members." Elena leaned back against him. "We won, but it doesn't feel like winning. War never does." Marcus rested his chin on top of her head. "But we honor them by building something better, by making sure their sacrifices meant something. And we are building something better, Elena. Look." He gestured down of the Great Hall. Former rogues who'd surrendered now talking with Frost Peak warriors. Allied packs strengthening bonds. Dylan deep in conversation with Grant about joint training programs. "That's what they died for," Marcus said quietly. "Not just victory, but the possibility of real change." 6 months passed like a dream. Winter gave way to spring. Snow melted, rivers thawed, and Frost Peak Pack began to heal. Elena threw herself into building the future they'd fought for. She established a training program for wolves who felt like outsiders, teaching them that different didn't mean weak. She worked with Grant on reforming pack policies, creating pathways for rogues to find sanctuary and redemption. She became the bridge she'd promised to be, not just between Frost Peak and Moonstone, but between the old ways and new possibilities. Her wolf never grew larger, stayed small, fast, unique. The pack called her the Silver Shadow, and the title was spoken with respect and admiration. On a warm spring evening, Elena was in the training facility, working with a group of young wolves who hadn't shifted yet, teaching them the same lessons she'd learned, that size wasn't everything, that heart and determination mattered more than genetics. "Your small stature will be your advantage," she told a 15-year-old girl who reminded her of herself. "Low center of gravity, faster reflexes, element of surprise. Use what others see as weakness and turn it into strength." She demonstrated a defensive move, showing how size could be leveraged in close combat. The young wolves watched with rapt attention, taking notes, asking questions. Marcus stood in the doorway watching. 6 months ago, his mate had been a frightened girl from Florida. Now she was a leader, a teacher, a warrior who'd earned every ounce of respect she commanded. Grant appeared beside him. "She's incredible." "She always was," Marcus replied. "I just had to get out of her way and let her show everyone else." After the training session ended, Marcus caught Elena's hand. "Come with me. I want to show you something." He drove them out of pack territory into the wilderness, following familiar roads. Elena realized where they were going before they arrived. The frozen lake. Except now it wasn't frozen. Spring had transformed it. Water rippled in gentle waves. Wildflowers bloomed along the shore. The world was alive again. Marcus led Elena to the same spot where they'd stood in winter, where he'd first told her he loved her, where they'd made promises about facing Victor together. "Elena Carter." Marcus dropped to one knee in the new grass. "You're already my mate, already my partner, already my equal in every way that matters." He pulled out a ring, simple silver band catching the evening light. "But I want to make it official." "Marry me?" "Yes," Elena said, pulling him up to kiss him. "About damn time you asked." They married on the summer solstice, under the midnight sun that never quite set. 3 packs attended. Maria cried tears of joy. Thomas smiled with unmistakable pride. Dylan gave a speech about his warrior sister who'd become a legend, who'd proven that the smallest wolf could cast the longest shadow. Elena stood beside Marcus in a simple white dress, looking out at the assembled wolves, their family, their future, and she thought about the journey that had brought her here. From the runt who ran alone in Florida forests to the beta female who'd helped forge a coalition and defeat a monster. "What are you thinking?" Marcus whispered during the reception. "That I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Elena squeezed his hand. "They called me the runt, the weak one, the one who wouldn't survive. And look at you now." Marcus gestured at the celebration around them, former outsiders dancing with pack elite, allied packs sharing stories and building friendships, young wolves looking at Elena with hope in their eyes, seeing possibility where they'd once seen only limitation. "The Silver Shadow," Elena said softly. "Beta female, warrior, teacher. I became all the things they said I couldn't be. No. Marcus turned her to face him, his eyes serious and full of love. You became exactly who you always were. You just finally had the space to show everyone else. As the midnight sun painted the sky in gold and the wolves celebrated under its eternal light, Elena Carter Kane understood a fundamental truth. Her story wasn't about transformation. It wasn't about becoming someone new. It was about refusing to let others define her limitations, about earning respect through action, about finding strength in what others saw as weakness. She'd been called the Runt, and she'd taken that word, that label meant to diminish her, and she'd reshaped it into something powerful, something worthy of respect. The smallest wolf, the silver shadow, the bridge between packs, the teacher who showed others that different was not less than. This was her story, and it was far from over. The end.